Broncos 16 kicked off the weekend. Oh, any other news, Barn? Sorry.
No, mate, not from me.
Broncos 16 ended the kicked off the weekend. Let's say. I'm trying to think of a smart way to say that. But I suppose Sharks weren't really on a streak, were they? Broncos 16, Sharks 7. Disappointing effort from the Sharks up at Suncorp Stadium. Barney, do you want to look at the stats and then tell us where your boys are at?
Yeah, it was 3 tries to 1, 2 out of 3 conversions for the Broncos, 1 out of 1 for the Sharks, and 1 out of 1 field goal attempts for the Sharks. 77% completion, played 70%. 31 out of 40 sets, played 29 out of 41. 8 line breaks to 2, 30 tackle busts to 34, 11 offloads to 13, 0 forced dropouts by the Broncos, 1 by the Sharks, 0 40-20s, 305 tackles, played 359, 3 ruck infringements to 1. 1 inside the 10 to the Broncos, 0 to the Sharks, 4 penalties conceded to 5, 10 errors to 13. Walters made 32 tackles, Brayley made 51, Oates made 213 metres, and Kennedy with 204. Gamble missed 5 tackles, made 19. Nakora missed 5 and made 39. And Talakai missed 3 and made 6. It was pretty clear to me that the Broncos had a plan in this game, and it was to rush it. Their defence was to rush up on the outside backs of the Sharks and put pressure on the halves and the centres on both sides of the field, and it worked a treat. The halves panicked and didn't know what to do and where to go. How the hell one of them didn't start kicking in behind Talakai Staggs, I have no idea, and just turn him around and pin him back in the corner. But it's for smarter minds and mine to figure out, I guess. But yeah, the halves definitely got rushed and did panic. I thought the Sharks were probably the better team in the first half, created a lot more attacking opportunities, but just seemed to shoot themselves in the foot time and time again. Again, there was two blokes that just dropped the ball on the chest with basically a massive gap in front of them and just put the ball down. Whether they run 50 metres to score or, at least they get down the other end of the field and close enough to put on that bit more pressure. But, there was 2 or 3 really good attacking positions that the Sharks just threw away in that first half. As I mentioned, Talakai got rushed by Staggs and didn't know what to do. And for whatever reason, they just kept pushing the pass out there and it just ended up going to ground, or Talakai got belted as soon as he touched the ball, or he tried to tap it onto Mulitano. And yeah, it was a comedy of errors out on that side for most of the night, to be honest. You have to give credit to Staggs. When he did he hit hard. Got up in their face and he flustered the Sharks backline there for big parts of the game. Also, I thought that they made a conceded effort to make sure that the back 5, whenever they were running out of dummy half, had someone in their face. Then they were rushing directly at the play the ball to try and nullify that role that the Sharks seemed to get on with the back 5 running out of dummy half. It was pretty clever tactics from the Broncos, whereas it was the opposite from the Sharks, I thought. Broncos seemed to build in confidence, and by the back end of their game, their attack seemed to be flowing quite well, actually. They were spinning it from side to side. Gamble, what can I say? He was effective. He wasn't overly brilliant, and it was more one-on-one missed tackles.
Yeah, what you see is what you're getting. It's exactly what you get from Tyson Gamble is what he brings.
He's got a step and he's got that little short ball, and both times that he put it on, it was basically just a one-on-one miss from, I think it was Hines once and maybe in the back row the second time, and they just strolled over. That was Ramey the other time on Oates, I think, on Capewell, and yeah, they both just led to tries. Sharks, their one-on-one defence is they really need to fix that up, especially in and around their goal line. And I think this was probably one of the games where their first up contact was probably poorer than I've seen it for the majority of the season as well. They've definitely, they've already shown that they've got what it takes to be in and around, but this was definitely, they seem to have 2 good games and then a bad one. So we'll see if they keep throwing up that sort of pattern for the rest of the season. Broncos played a strong 80 minutes for the first time I can remember in quite a while. I thought they were actually pretty decent with their effort for 80 minutes. They didn't sort of drop off like they do in most games. Reynolds kicked fantastically again and turned the Sharks around. Staggs and Capewell they were the other 2 best players for the Broncos. I thought McInnes, Nakora and Rudolph were really strong for the forwards for the Sharks. And I thought they probably won the forward battle the majority of the times, apart from trying to stop Payne Haas every time he touched the ball. But that's what every team in the comp seems to have to try and do. And Hines was okay, but he lost points for me in the way that he panicked when put under pressure. So surely, I think I mentioned it last week that they were going to start rushing Talakai, and the Sharks need to come up with a plan for it. So I'm really surprised that there wasn't a plan for it. But
yeah, Nico's response was sort of just to sort of float wider and wider, and then sort of panic
pass it over the top, or even just pass it to him.
And then most of the time he's dropped the ball cold, but just panic.
Well, they didn't grab her in behind, or even just turn Talakai back in and get him to run back at the post. So I have no idea.
Yeah.
They were very side to side, the Sharks. They were, they were very side to side. A couple of takeaways that I sort of had from the game was, and I think you mentioned a few of them, Barney, that I think it might help the Sharks in the end because moving further into the season, that they didn't really have a plan B when everyone sort of knew what plan A was, or what Brisbane were going to do to beat their plan A, and there wasn't really a plan B for them. So I don't know whether they didn't have one, they hadn't thought of one, they weren't good enough, they were too under the pump, or whatever, because all of the things that you said, Cronulla really in the forwards were on top. The first half, they were on top. I
think Brisbane's line defence was still pretty good.
Oh, but look, Brisbane were good.
And their line speed was all right, even.
And getting to
apart from McGuinness's leg speed, that they were all, Cronulla was serviceable. But sorry, carry on.
Yeah, but the point that I think I've made before, that it was one of those games where a top team played a lower team. The top team played to about 50% of their ability, and Broncos probably played nearly to their best that they could play in terms of defensively, especially. That I don't think the Broncos have defended that well for quite a long time. In terms of like the last 2 or 3 years, they haven't really defended like that. Their attack was okay, but Cronulla were, I think we just put it down to a bad game and hope they've got a plan B moving forward, because the blueprint's kind of there now on how to stop certain blokes. Like, I like Will Kennedy as a player, but he got tackled far too many times going sideways. Didn't really let go of the ball to outside players. It's not his fault entirely, but, well, it's not his fault. He was just a victim of circumstance as well, I think. But they were the few takeaways that I sort of had. Look, Brisbane were really good, and Cronulla were not so great for the standards that they've been setting for the year.
Pretty much sums it up well. Anything else you boys want to mention? I think especially in this case, the sky doesn't have to fall every week. You can get beaten and move on, some of these teams, but we'll get to some that maybe the sky has fallen.
It's pretty disappointing. I had Staggs with 3 points. I had Reynolds with 2, and then either Capewell or Haas for the 1.
No arguments from me there.
We'll go with Haas. Honorary mention to McGuinness, I think. And also, we didn't really mention Herbie's, going pretty well at the moment. I know we've sort of touched him every week, but they've sort of got 2, at least 1.5 strike centers, if not 2 proper strike centers. Oh,
no, I think Herbie Farnworth enhanced his reputation this year, definitely.
Oh, yeah,
leg speed, he's athletic, he's strong. Like, he'll make errors like most players in the NRL, but I think he's, being an off-contract player is adding to his value.
He seems quite a bit stronger in contact, actually.
Yeah.
Now that you mention it, this year. Yeah.